Well, hey, everybody. I am so glad I got to be with you today. So it is Monday, and my schedule has been a little strange. So that's why I posted something last night about that I possibly couldn't be here today, but I'm here. So we are getting ready for the 5 day challenge. So this is a 5 day feel good challenge starting October 3rd. And just to give you a recap, so this is going to be dropping on the podcast on Wednesday. So you'll be able to see the first segment, which I did last week, which was feeling good in the body. So as we're preparing for the challenge, I think it's helpful to kind of get the information first and hear it and maybe begin to digest it and absorb it as you get ready to participate in a challenge that is intended to help you feel good, body, mind, and heart. Today, we're going to talk about the heart. So let's just jump right in. So here's the 5 day feel good challenge. So on letsfeelgoodnow.com, very soon there's going to be some information where you can go and sign up for free. This is totally free and it's 5 days. It's an online course that you'll be able to go and access. You will also be able to see this video as well as a link to the podcast itself. So you can listen to the information that I talk about as you do the work in each area. So that starts October 3rd. Registration will be opening very soon. So just look for those updates. And I will always, of course, be posting links on Facebook, Instagram to let you know that it's open and ready to go. The goal is to have this open and ready to go by Monday, which would be a week before the challenge begins. Okay? All right. So let's talk about the mind. So I use the word mind instead of brain because I think that, I don't know, it's a gentler way of kind of talking about our mental health that is so deeply connected to our body. Well, all of the parts that we talk about, they're all integrated, right? Body, mind, and heart. But the mind in particular is unique. So it's important, I think, to talk about each part, just like I talked about the body. And you're going to hear me talk about the body today because really they build upon one another, much like a foundation, right? So our body is the wisest thing that we have. And it holds so much knowledge and wisdom and is such a tremendous, powerful, magical thing that when the mind comes along, the mind kind of perhaps wants to disconnect from the body because the mind is about thinking and action and tasks and doing and so the mind gets very involved in that narrative. So we're really building upon the body. Okay, so let's talk about some things. So, the mind, the brain, is deeply connected to the body. In conjunction with the body, its first response to perceived danger is immediate and powerful. Tremendous hormones and chemicals are released into the body and the nervous system. The whole point is the brain's job is to make sure we survive. That is the oldest part of our brain, the amygdala. Its whole job is designed for survival, and it releases powerful, effective hormones and chemicals to help us do just that. The problem is the brain really just is not good at telling time. So the brain doesn't think of time. It cannot differentiate between the past or the present or the future for that matter. So, for example, memories will trigger the same response as a tiger approaching in real life, right? The memory of a tiger approaching is going to trigger the same response as if a tiger was right there, right now. Your body's going to respond the exact same way. The brain is built up into really three parts. And I've talked about this in other workshops, and I'll make sure I reference it in the free good, the free challenge that you're going to sign up for. You're going to see the content on that page because I'm going to make sure I reference some previous podcasts where I've talked about the brain as far as the three questions the brain asks. So that's important to understand that the first question the brain's always going to ask is, am I safe? And that is the oldest part of our brain and is always going to be the first to respond. The second question the brain asks is, am I loved? And that is the middle part of our brain, which holds emotional memory, which holds connection and social situations, intimate relationships, bonds. So that is where we hold a lot of emotional memory, and it's deeply connected to the amygdala. And then the third part of the brain is our frontal cortex, which is the most recently developed in the sense of it's always the last to come online when something challenging or difficult comes along. And the question it asks is, what can I learn from this? That is where we have this thing called rational thought, judgment, creativity, imagination, play, wonder, judgment. Those are three questions the brain asks. And it asks these questions without understanding that whatever is happening has no relation to time whatsoever. The brain simply perceives a threat or a dangerous situation and responds accordingly for us to survive, regardless if it's actually happening or simply a memory that is being recalled. So there are three things we can start doing today to help our brain regulate, just like our body. So everything we learned about the body last week, we're going to tack on this concept of how we can help regulate our brain. And they're going to sound familiar. Breathing. Yes, breathing for the body, breathing for the brain, both very, very important. So again, the value of breath work is well researched, and it is usually the first to go when we're stressed. In fact, when bad situations happen or stressful, challenging situations happen, emotionally charged situations happen, the first thing that goes is the breath will become very shallow in order to save oxygen because the brain thinks we are in physical danger. So our breathing becomes shallow. What we want to do is regulate that breathing, that shallow breathing, by slowing down and taking deep, slow, diaphragm, belly breathing, right? And we don't want to shortchange our brain because breath regulates the brain and body. Now, it takes 2 to 5 minutes of simple breathing exercises that can help us breathe in order to regulate our brain. Now, the whole goal of this is to slow everything down. The brain is like a computer, and it's going to respond with precision and urgency and immediacy. So when hard situations arrive, the brain will respond as if it was a lion charging. The key is to slow down. And we slow down by detaching ourselves from that initial feeling of overwhelm or fear or activation, the thing that got us going, right? We detach by naming the situation that is activating us. We just name it. If we aren't sure what it is, we just don't even do anything. We wait. We breathe. We wait, and it will rise to the surface. Once you name the situation, you detach from it as almost as if you're witnessing it, almost as if you're watching it happen to another person. That detachment gives you space to not feel so personally involved. And you're going to tune into your body and acknowledge the feelings that come up. That's all part of slowing down. So we detach from the situation by naming it, tuning into our body, and acknowledging what we feel. Not stopping what we feel, just acknowledging it, recognizing it, paying attention. And then we have to deal with what I call the unreliable narrator. So a way that we can regulate the brain once we've really got ourselves to slow down. We've named the situation that has come up, and we have acknowledged the emotions. And then we need to start paying attention to the story that's on repeat in our head about the situation or about the problem, about whatever it was that activated us. We need to check into what we're telling ourselves, the story we're telling ourselves. So our brain functions like a computer. It is wanting to ensure our survival. So therefore, it is constantly in search of filling in the blank. So if you have a blank, if you say, I'm not sure how I feel about this, it's an unknown, the brain is immediately going to want to fill the blank with something. And it pulls like from different files in your head, different experiences, different memories, familiar memories, situations that were similar to what you're going through. It starts going and getting that information and filling in all the blanks. So where your frontal cortex would allow you space to become curious, to reflect, the amygdala in the middle of our brain is going to be very anxious to fill those blanks. So it's really trying to protect us, right? Wants to keep us safe, wants to have control, wants to be sure and concise and clear. Computers function on a platform of code, and that code is constant and consistent. And the brain really, really likes constant consistency. The brain does not like ambiguity, especially the amygdala. Okay? So, in an effort to do all that, the brain often can create a story around certain beliefs or memories, a story about the situation that activated you, the challenges, the issue that brought up all this. Story will get built up around how it came to be, what caused it, how you should respond. And it's really based a lot on what we believe about ourselves and what we value. And that story that gets concocted, well, it's not always true. So what we do in regulation is once we've been able to breathe and slow down, we pay attention to this unreliable narrator that is constantly throwing out these stories of the situation, around the story. And a good example of this might be in a family dynamic, when you go to see family on the holidays and there's stress or overwhelm. You may go into that situation with an expectation that it's going to be hard. So when the challenges arise, the story begins to come in your brain. This always happens. I don't even know why we do this. You are so stupid for even wanting to come here, right? So the point we have to ask ourselves in that moment when that narrator is talking, is it true? The challenge is arising because we're human, but it doesn't happen all the time, every time. And am I stupid for wanting to connect with my family, even though it might be hard? It is not true. And you have to ask yourself really hard question, really almost interrogating yourself. Is this true? And when we get to the point where we're really not sure if it's true, because this narrator is our friend, it's been there for a long time, we want to trust that narrator, but it's really most often unreliable because it's pulling on past memories and filling in blanks. It's not data that is actually valid or accurate. It might be in some parts, but some parts of it probably aren't. So the way we deal with this is we practice detaching from the story and reframing the story. We reframe the narrative that our unreliable narrator is telling. So for the example I told you, the narrator is saying, see, this always happens. You're so stupid for wanting to come and see your family because every time you do, there's always going to be this problem that hops up. And it's going to hurt us and we're going to feel bad. And this is why we just don't want to do this anymore. And so I would reframe that as, yeah, family situation's hard, but I value family and I value relationships with my family. And so it is not true that it is always a challenge or always difficult, because there have been moments of connection. There have been moments of genuine love and care. And it is those I will recall as I step into this. And so you can see what you're doing is you're saying, you're not minimizing the feeling of overwhelm or fear or anxiety, but just acknowledging it can be both. It can be both challenging and good. It can be both hard and enjoyable. It can be both. It doesn't have to just be one or the other. And that's the beauty of managing the unreliable narrator. All right, so that's just a little insight into feeling good in our brain. So we breathe, we slow down, and we manage our unreliable narrator. All right, so the challenge starts October 3rd. Look on the website at letsfeelgoodnow.com for updates. This is the shortest video podcast I have done in a long time, but I like to keep it succinct, right? Let's make it helpful. So as you get ready for this challenge, listen to last week's about the body and listen to the connections, the similarities between how we help our body regulate and our brain, because you're going to start seeing overlap. That's because they're all integrated, right? Okay. So next week, I'm going to be talking about feeling good in your heart. So we're going to talk about the last phase. And next week, I will be going live on Tuesday instead of Monday due to some commitments that I have on Monday. So we will go live on Tuesday. And at that time is when I will have an updated link for you to go and register for this Feel Good Challenge. In the meantime, visit letsfeelgoodnow.com. You will see other good content. You can listen to previous podcasts. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. I think that is all I have. Yep, that's it. So thank you guys so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you can feel good even when life doesn't. Bye, y'all.